This is your favorite daytime talk show right here on News Central. If you don't agree, please argue with your ancestors, your keyboard, and yourself. It's just 3 o'clock, and as always, we day here for you. Today is World Environment Day, and in just a bit, we'll be looking at the commemoration through the eyes of Nigerians, and as we'll focus on the country's plastic pollution crisis. Yes, believe it or not, it's a crisis. But first, guys, we're still recovering from yesterday's interview with the Commissioner for Women Affairs and Social Welfare in Anambra State, Ify Obinabo. She joined us to give us an update on the story that shocked many across the country. There's been so much buzz online. Catherine, I have not been able to recover. The ladies, everyone is still talking about it.
Okay, so just in case you can't remember, now an 18-year-old apprentice got 10 girls pregnant in Anambra.
Why are you rushing that? Please, can you
No, please slow down. Emphasize.
why are you rushing?
Just in case you forgot, this was a conversation we had yesterday. An 18-year-old apprentice got 10 girls pregnant in Anambra in the space of about 6 months. 6 months, 10 girls, 18-year-olds. Honestly, this conversation left a lot of us stunned, and it seems the audience felt the same way. One part that really got people talking, though, was when she spoke about what responsibility the young man would have to the babies, which was absolutely none. And this, and I mean, Tolu, you need to see your face when she says, no, I'm struggling. I'm struggling, Commissioner.
No. Situation. In Igbo land, if you haven't paid for somebody's dowry, you don't have the responsibility of picking bills or bills. So basically, the parents of these girls are doing what they're supposed to do. Take care of their children. Nobody's going to hang it on the man. And you won't even be proud to say you're bringing, because when they started bringing, this person came. The mother was like, that these days that the BP is always, going up. Because when she sees a woman coming with her daughter, maybe they're going to another place, so that her mind will start, kicking. Like, that maybe these people are coming to lay the same complaints. You get? So in our culture, if you're not married, if you've not paid for anybody's dowry and the person is pregnant, we call it imembuke here. Okay, so I'm telling you, take care of your daughter.
Commissioner, I'm struggling.
You don't even want to.
I'm struggling.
You are wicked to give her to your daughter and say it's you that will come and take care of the child. You don't know.
So wait,
Commissioner. When you know other people are involved too.
Commissioner, I'm so sorry. I'm struggling. So he has no responsibility to the children that are coming from this situation.
No. In our culture, no.
Okay,
we call it
the mothers
of the girls are going to take care of the girls, raise the children. Are they allowed to take the child or the children to the young man? No, we're not.
Does this not?
No. The boy will not take those children.
Is this not an enabling act? Like, I could say little wonder he's, empowered to impregnate as many women because there's no responsibility on him.
That's the culture, and that's why parents should come up and...
When the story first broke, the commissioner had appealed to the public for suggestions on how to handle this situation. So she shared some of the helpful suggestions people had given her. Here are some of them.
When the story broke, you also asked the public for suggestions on how to deal with this. What were some of the suggestions that came in, and how has the state stepped into the situation?
Anyway, people adage will always say that people just gave me some crazy advice and some sincere advice. Some came from the moral aspect of it, some spiritual aspect of it, some social aspect of it. You won't believe it. That some people were like, in as much as so many people condemned the act and said that they are majorly blaming the parents of those girls. But it's not as if we are not blaming the boy, we are equally blaming the boy. Some blame the boy, some blame the parents. Then some gave crazy ideas that with this, that the boy is a gift to our society. The boy should be pampered, given accolades, that people should stop going for IVF, that anybody that needs help should go to the boy. And I was like, how? If he were to be your side, would you allow him to be, servicing on every woman that needs baby? Them some said we should really go into psychotherapy, which I picked from them and I agreed with them, sensitize them. And some said we should as well, not just the boy, we should take it up as a project. And we have already started doing that, discussing it in all gatherings, that parents should wake up and do what they're supposed to be doing by exposing their children to some of these information that they need. That parents should bring that time from their whatever time schedule, that they don't understand, yes, that the economy is harsh, but all this hustling and, that you're doing basically to be able to take care of your family. That when you now come back and say that the family you're suffering to take care of is nowhere, because there are children you have in the family, that basically you don't have anybody you can call real child. The parents should come home, slow down, and bring out more time.
Ooh. All right, so there's a lot to talk about. We didn't have an opportunity to get into this conversation after we had spoken to the commissioner yesterday, and it's a lot, and we've posted it on some of our social media statuses, and I have people calling me and saying, what was that in the video they just heard? And there's a lot about it. Ladies,
Everybody was stunned.
I don't know who
yesterday.
wants to start first.
I was stunned yesterday, now I'm speechless. So, but I'll find something. I think is the levity we take some of these things. And it's actually particularly triggering to women going through IVF or childlessness. And, we even put in some sort of stigma around the girls that has experienced this, to say, it's their problem, it's their mother's problem. Now the boy is a gift. And maybe the commissioner also shouldn't have spoken with, every side of her mouth, because, she has responsibility to communicate this to us in a way that it is digestible, and maybe also looking at solutions, because some of what, we had expected her, to dive into, she didn't. Let's keep in mind that this could be the beginning of an outbreak of some particular disease, because he's having unprotected sex with more than 10 girls.
And we don't know who they are having unprotected sex with. Yeah. It's a lot. So I was actually on almost a 30-minute phone call with a friend this morning on this particular issue, because I have a lot of people who have come and said, yes, this is the tradition in Igbo culture. And we talk a lot about where culture ends and maybe not civilized society, but where law and order begin. And there are a few things he said. I was taking notes. Even one of my other friends, I've been in conversation since yesterday. He said that cultural repercussions are no longer enough to prevent certain things. So yes, she spoke to us yesterday and said that there is a stigma on the boy as well. While it might be difficult for us to understand and believe, because it's the girls that are carrying the evidence of this situation, that in traditional times there would have been a stigma on the boy and his family as well, for him being the one responsible for all these pregnancies. But that stigma is no longer as powerful as it used to be. So those previous cultural repercussions that would have been meted out on him and his family don't hold as much water. So if we're saying that is that, where is the evolution of culture? Because culture and traditions were made for man. Man was not made for culture and traditions. And every single tradition around the world, unless you're one of those people, I can't remember, the Sentinel Island, that do not even engage with the rest of the world. Every single culture and tradition in the world has somehow evolved. We cannot say and sit here that there will be no evolution to that culture. One of my friends, because this has also opened some people's eyes, we're looking at it, and she said she wasn't approaching this as a Yoruba person because there's conversation around how it's an Igbo culture, but she said she's approaching this as a country of different cultures that has come together to be governed by laws that should be upheld by everyone, especially a government official. If we all turn to our cultures, disruption and chaos will be the order of the day. It's a law.
So my thing is, and I noticed that it's not like she was trying to discredit the situation or water it down, but unfortunately it's become so normal that I'm sure that she was shocked at our reaction.
I think
and then
so.
she just kept saying, that's how it is. So she did not even understand why we were, and I think that's what culture does. It kind of is blinding, to be honest. Yes. And then another thing I'm going to say is, if the culture that stigmatizes the boy and probably his family doesn't hold as much water anymore, why are they still upholding the culture that says the family must take care of the child? Force the responsibility on the boy. This is the 21st century. So if the culture that stigmatizes him doesn't hold water, then the culture that stigmatizes the girl's family and forces the responsibility of the child on their family should also not hold water. I'm not saying force him to marry the girl, but force the responsibility of the child on him.
I think we as Nigerians, we enjoy that hold of
we're cultural people, we're traditional people.
And we hide behind that. I was a bit disturbed. Yesterday, I struggled. Before I left the office, I struggled because I think it's the laissez-faire attitude that came with the commissioners explaining it. But then again, maybe she was surprised that we were surprised because it's a thing. It's been a thing for years, and it's tradition, it's culture. And at the same time, I say to myself, as Nigerians, we speak from different corners of our mouths because in the north, we criticize the cultures there. We've been talking about VVF, and that leans heavily on culture. But who are we to cast aspersions if we ourselves, on this other side of the divide, are not coming and are not being honest,
are not coming correct,
and are coming correct with where our cultures are concerned? Culture is man-made culture. It's not. It shouldn't dominate us. We shouldn't be afraid to evolve. We shouldn't be afraid to grow out of, whether we like it or not. We say the same way the digital age has changed, and we are now in the dawn of AI and the likes of it. Everybody's moving. If you don't move along with these trends, you're going to miss the train. And you're just going to be there in the dark, in the dump. You won't even know how to navigate or how to even conduct yourself in the world of today. And if we do not begin
adapt and evolve, organisms are made to adapt.
We will be changed by
so
our
that
culture.
they can survive.
And I think
Darwin's theory.
One thing that we're not understanding is culture is not just the way we live. Culture is, there should be value instilled in our culture. And so, when we say man-made culture, it's so that it can make man. When I say make man, in the sense that it puts men in place. So if there's no value in culture, if there's no norm in culture, then it's not culture. There should be values. If you do this, this is the consequence. So if we've watered down culture to just cultural dances and language and everything, there should be punishments for actions, because that's how they say where there's no. How did they say, where there's no crime, there's no punishment or something like that? It's now beginning to look like these acts are not criminal acts. Similar to, there was a story I took, and then they were talking about a ritualist that his people said they were going to banish him. And I'm like, at what point are they going to hand him over to the police? Because it just feels like they will just send him away from their community. And it goes somewhere to do it. So I think that we should not completely neglect that act, that part of punishment and repercussion for actions that are committed.
And I think that point that Catherine made about we even as a people, we tend to speak from both sides of our mouth. We castigate many in the north because of early girl marriage, early childhood girl marriage. There's a tradition in Yoruba land, Shupo, when a man dies, sometimes the wife will have to marry within the family, either a brother or an uncle, to keep her and keep the children sometimes, and the inheritance or wealth inside the family. We can point at troublesome cultures from around almost every single tribe in this country. And what we've said is that it's not, let's look at the beautiful aspects and we keep them, but let's look at the aspects that with knowledge we have understood cannot take us further. Because what is it? my people suffer because they lack knowledge. And when you know better, you're supposed to do better. And these things we're saying, I know that there's been a lot of conversation around inheritance situations with traditions, not even just Igbo land. It even happens other places, not just in Igbo land. But we really need to be self-reflective. And even think about this in terms of, we've been having some conversations around sexual and reproductive health. Our children do not know anything about protection. The commissioner said that this boy was just going around, sleeping around with girls, unprotected, catching crews. And that's a very, very, very big issue we need to address. We don't have sexual and reproductive health education in schools, so he's going around catching crews and spreading sperm, and now becoming a father of many nations. Let's even talk about the fact that, some of these girls could have been pregnant. There'll be other girls that are pregnant that may have pinned the pregnancy on somebody else. There'll be other girls they might have been sleeping with that didn't get pregnant. That didn't come forward. Do we understand the ramifications? And now some of these children are going to grow up as the product of this kind of situation. They're growing up as the child of a single mother. There's stigma already. And we were talking about it outside. Someone said it's going to be almost impossible for some of these girls to even get married from their community.
And now I'm seeing that there's a possibility that there are other girls who got pregnant, but were too ashamed to, either them or their family were too ashamed to, because they know that there will be no punishment for him. The repercussion will be on them. So probably the man will be like, no, you will not bring shame to this family, so they're trying to conceal the pregnancy. There's so many possibilities here.
And don't forget, there's also the possibility of some of these children ending up in orphanages, or possibly even, I'm not casting anybody, or being sold. Because unfortunately at the time, there was a time that there are a number of baby factories that were being discovered in Anambra. So this story is not, it goes beyond this 18-year-old who, if we're talking about the parents of the girls, where were they? Where were his parents? Where is the parenting of any of the children in this situation? He's 18. What are his economic prospects? What are his educational prospects? Even for the girls. I think this is a much larger story, and we need to really look at how much it reflects the breakdown of our societal norms and even the things that we hold as values in Nigeria.
Yes, and lastly, before we go, we should also keep our leaders accountable, whether traditional leaders, political leaders. You're not just upholding the values of that society. There is law and order. Please, let's try to balance things in order to better ourselves, because this is the Commissioner of Women Affairs, and this is a woman affair. But from our end,
one thing I know for sure is that this story will stay with us for a long time. It will. And I know that there are different layers to this. We can't just take it or treat it with levity and then flip the page. No, we have to actually flesh it up. So let's know what your take on this situation is, especially on culture, on responsibility, and on tradition. We'd like to hear from you watching online. Drop your comments on our social media platforms. We are at News Central TV. Now, up next, plastic is everywhere. From the sachet water in our hands to the waste choking our drains and floating in our rivers. But what we throw away is never really gone. Did you know that? And now the crisis is coming back to us in the air we breathe and in the food we eat. After the break, we dig into Nigeria's plastic problem and ask, can we really beat it? Or are we just getting buried in it? Joining us after the break, our climate activist and co-founder of the International Climate Change Development Initiative, Olumide Idowu, and Dr. Femi Idowu Adegoke, co-founder, EcoVeredis Environmental Technology. Stay with us.
Now today on Jasiri, we turn our attention to the environment and to a crisis we see every single day but often ignore: plastic pollution. From blocked drains and flooded streets to dead fish washed up on our shores, the plastic waste choking our planet is no longer invisible. In Nigeria alone, it's estimated we generate over 2.5 million tons of plastic waste every year, much of it ending up in gutters, landfills, and sadly, in the ocean. The theme for this year's World Environment Day is clear and urgent: beat plastic pollution. And the message is this: if we don't fix our relationship with plastic now, the damage will be irreversible. So what's our role as individuals, as governments, and as businesses? Can we truly beat plastic pollution, or are we simply learning to live with it? Today, we unpack these questions and more with environmental advocates who have been doing the work on the ground and pushing for sustainable change. Now, this is not just an environmental conversation. This is a conversation about our lives, our homes, and our futures. Joining us on Zoom, we have Olumide Idowu. He's a climate change activist and co-founder of the International Climate Change Development Initiative. Olumide is also fondly known as Mr. Climate. And in the studio with us, we have Dr. Femi Idowu Adegoke. He's the co-founder EcoVerdis Environmental Technology, and he joins us as well. Gentlemen, welcome to Jasiri.
Good morning.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, so I want us to just go straight to it and talk about it. So I'll start by asking you. Let's start with you. So we understand that plastic pollution is everywhere, from our gutters to our oceans. We're literally almost drowning in plastic. Why is this such an urgent issue in Nigeria right now?
Okay, well, first, it's not just an urgent issue in Nigeria. It's a global urgency now. But I will now streamline it to Nigeria because one, Nigeria is a developing country, and because we have what I always call waste management problem. It is the waste management problem who has given birth to the plastic menace that we see in our society. And it is not just one person or one sector problem. It's a multi-sectoral problem. It is our problem. But we've not been seeing it as our problem. As in waste management is everybody's problem. Mm-hmm. We all generate waste, but we don't want to live with it. We want to get rid of it, whatever way we want. But we have to do it the proper way because we've been doing indiscriminate dumping of waste. And that is why the plastic has become a huge menace. And then plastic was supposed to be an innovation for packaging or for containerizing material, goods and services. But because we did not, globally, not just one person now, the government, the people, the manufacturers, the advocates, everyone, consumers, we did not manage our waste properly. We end up with this menace that we have now.
And even just the pictures, right?
I mean, the pictures.
And that was about 9 years ago in Surulere. Yeah.
Oh, that was that flood I was telling you that a couch was floating across as well.
Oh, wow. Okay, Olumide, let me come to you at this point. You said this was 8 years ago?
Yeah, Okobi Street in Surulere.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember the flood. Yeah.
2016.
Lord. So, Olu, let me ask you this. What are some of the everyday ways plastic pollution is affecting Nigerian communities that people may not even notice, as well as the ones that we notice?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. And let me first of all say thank you to everybody and my boss there, Mr. Femi. One of the things I think is very big, important thing that we need to understand here is very key, our health. You see, a lot of people don't know that what the plastic is doing to our body is very dangerous. And like I said, if we don't take urgent action towards it, it's going to keep eating deep into the system and people die gradually. Even the way we're having plastic pollution in our rivers, in our ocean, that is how we're having plastic in our body. So it is very important for us to start looking at what are the measures, what are the actions, and what are the responsibility that it needs to be taken to make sure that we take out plastic completely, even though people say it is not possible. It is very possible if there's dedication, if there is an investment opportunity in the plastic space. It's very, very possible. So it affects our health, it affects our body, and it will continue to affect our drainages. And that's why you see this kind of picture showing you that the lot of impact that the drainage is causing in our system or in our environment is the one that is making us to see the kind of action that we see towards the human. So it's very important that we take care of the environment and we make sure that we take care of our health. When you see the fish in the ocean, why do we have fish that we still find plastic in them when some people get the fish out of the ocean? It's because we are not taking care of the environment. And like they said, plastic can stay for many years. And that is why if we can turn it to an investment opportunity, then we continue to see that taking plastic away or ending plastic pollution will phase out gradually with a lot of enforcement and even responsibility from the community and the people. Thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. Climate, let me stay with you real quick. For an average Nigerian, a container or a nylon pure water ends when what it contains finishes. Can you break down, the journey of a typical plastic bottle or a sachet water? Where does it end? How long does it stay in our environment?
Well, basically, it stays for a long time, as long as, especially the pure water sachets. But what I would say is that the end use of these products, it is where the innovation comes from. And I'm sure Mr. Femi there that is into recycling, because, when we talk about recycling, it's not about you carrying the bottle and be selling. No, we are talking about turning it to another product. So for PET bottle, for sachet nylon, it's going to take a long year before the decay if we don't actually turn. But what we are talking about here is how do we turn those plastic, how do we turn those sachet water, nylon, into something that can benefit the environment? And that is where all this issue of upcycling comes up. But I can bet you that if you look at the generation of the bottle, the plastic you just finished, whether the Coke or whether Pepsi or whether Ever Water, you will notice that you keep reusing it and nothing keeps happening to it. That is what is going to happen when you throw it to the environment, another person pick it up. But the bottom line is, what should be the end point of this plastic? We should start looking for an innovation, which Mr. Femi said, we need to make an innovation important in this space so that all this plastic, we can use them for upcycling, which a lot of people are doing presently. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's really interesting you talk about the upcycling. I've seen situations where you're using plastic to make bricks. And they're building homes with it, and they're paving streets, and they're fixing potholes. And it just feels like if this is happening abroad, why are we who are drowning in plastic not coming to those innovations? But we'll talk about that in the moment. In his day job, Dr. Femi Adegoke is also essay to the Honorable Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, and so that puts you in a prime position for conversations such as this. And I want us to really talk about this. So we're talking about plastic from bags, bottles, packaging as well. And now we're in the conversations around microplastics. So Olumide mentioned even people are finding plastic inside fish. That's the one the eye can see. There's also the ones the eye does not.
There's plastic in human beings.
Exactly. So I want to go there. So now it's a plastic invasion. Yeah. So talk about it in terms of our environment, the health, and even the food system now.
Oh, thank you very much for that question. I like the question because I'm essay on One Health. And One Health is the interconnectivity between environment, human health, and animal health. And so what that is supposed to do is that the three core areas, that's environment, human health, and animal health, works together to stop the environmental impact on human beings and on animals. For example, we have Lassa fever. That is from environmental degradation to animal and then ending up with human beings. So that to curb that problem, we have to look after our environment. We must attract or address the issue from the root cause. So if we don't take care of our environment, we don't have proper sanitation problem. Once we have sanitation problem, then we're going to have these outbreaks. Cholera outbreaks, Lassa fever. So what One Health does is to look at the holistic approach.
The chain.
Yes, from environmental health to human health. And so it's a global health approach. So it's not another ministry or another department, but it's an approach that needs to be driven. We have at the national level, and there's work ongoing to cascade it down to the states and the local government, the subnationals. Because, let me quickly say, what we have in this country, one of our major problems, not only in Nigeria, most developing countries, is there's so much good and beautiful, well-written, well-structured policies and legislation.
Law.
But at the implementation stage, we falter because we want to implement at the national level, which is not done. The national level is for developing the policies, the strategies, the regulation, and then you cascade it down to the subnationals where the communities are, where people can actually own these frameworks and then run with it, and that's when we feel the impact. So for me, I'm an ardent advocate that we must cascade all these our policies, strengthening of regulations, strengthening of legislation, strengthening of policies. Yes, it's good to write it down, have it in glamorous and all of that, but it must translate to real life, practicable actions. So we must be deliberate.
You said something now. You said that they found plastic. So of the 5 of us sitting here, are we all carrying plastic in our bloodstream?
Well, I don't know until we do our blood test. But there's been research that they found microplastic in human bloodstream. There's research. The one in fishes or in the ocean is almost 10 years now that we've been having that. We've had mammals in the ocean die with over 100 and something pieces of plastic in
their
them.
Stomach.
Yeah,
because they're eating it, mistaking it for food.
Yeah, because you know, when plastic breaks down and it's in the ocean, it looks like what they feed on, and they take it, and that's but for us as a people, we're the one who create this problem, and it will take me back to where we're coming from, or what I said earlier on. If we have we build a proper waste management system, a structure, a bottom-up approach, not top to bottom. Yeah. Because in most cases we're doing top to bottom. Yeah. And the people at the bottom, that's the community, the world level, they don't understand what you're saying. So we need to take it to them, let them understand it, and we grow it organically. Like, Lagos State has been doing so well when it comes to waste management, but that needs to improve. We cannot stay where we are. We need to move to the next level, and there has to be enforcement.
Okay, let's take a break there because we'll talk about enforcement and compliance on the policies around plastic pollution in Nigeria. We're going to take a quick break now. When we come back, this conversation will continue with our guests in studio and also on Zoom. Stay with us.
You're still live with us on Jasiri, and it's World Environment Day, and this year the message is loud and clear. Beat plastic pollution. From overflowing gutters to oceans choking on waste, Nigeria's plastic problem is no longer just an eyesore, it's a crisis. And today on Jasiri, we're asking, what will it take to clean up our act, and are we running out of time? We'll look at personal and public responsibility as well as policies and solutions as well.
Catherine is thinking about the plastic in her body.
While Catherine is thinking, I want to ask, because I know that, for example, sometimes the people who help us clean our compound, they say things like, oh, please gather your plastic.
Yes.
You know. So if they're that enthusiastic about it, does it mean that if we incentivize the reuse or return of plastic enough, we would have less on the streets?
Yes, to a large extent, but I'll say that it's not just by just doing that. There has to be a mindset shift, a cultural shift from take, make, and dump.
Take, make, and dump.
Yes. Okay. That's the linear economy that we're used to. Everyone, like I said, is not just the government. It is the government, the people, the community, the private sectors, the manufacturers, the society. Everyone has a responsibility to play. We must all come together and decide that we must be intentional about beating the plastic pollution. And one of the ways to beat plastic pollution is the choices, one of the things you said. But it goes beyond that. We must institutionalize education at school level, from primary school. It must be in our curriculum.
I said it. I'm so sorry. Because they know that there are 2 or 3 tunes I sing. This is one of the tunes I sing. Is it not? Did I not say it last week? I'll be early this week. I'm turning out to be a prophet on Justice. Wow.
Some people in our industry, in the waste management, recycling, circular economic space, they're already doing that. But doing it in silos is not going to have the necessary impact until we have it at the national, state, and local government level. It has to be a system-driven approach.
Okay. All right. So, Olumide, it's not as if we've forgotten you. No, we haven't. So, I'm going to pull you into the conversation now. Femi has talked about awareness at the federal, state, local government level, but I'm saying to you that despite increasing awareness, many Nigerians still, they see climate change as a foreign problem, probably until their homes are flooded, or the crops fail, or something disastrous happens. So how can we reframe environmental conversations, especially around flooding, waste, and plastic pollution, so that they feel urgent, local, and personal to the average Nigerian?
It seems to be having technical issues.
Because we hear that, because I know that we talk about these things. And my question always with conversations like this is that, number one, environmental, Tolu used to do a show on radio, Green Hour.
Yeah.
The environment is not once you start talking about environment, people tune off.
They tune off.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to know. They've been using plastics and dumping it just sometimes out the window for the longest time. So what are you doing? How can this change and change immediately? And so that Nigerians can understand that it's not necessarily about them, it's about the environment, and the environment is where we live.
I'll just give an example of what has happened, how cultural shift has happened, and that's the route to go. First, we need to strengthen the policy. There has to be regulation and there has to be enforcement. An example is growing up in Lagos, Nigeria, people in the 80s, 90s, people were not bothered about wearing seatbelt in the car.
Yeah.
But there was a governor in Lagos State who said, seatbelt is a must. And he went out, and today, without anybody looking at you, even in public transport, the drivers are telling you, you must wear a seatbelt.
Yeah.
So we must be deliberate. And I'll give another example. In Rwanda and Kenya, the plastic pollution is very minimal. We cannot do without plastic now, but we can limit and then work towards eradicating the plastic pollution. Because if we're not limiting it, we're not going to get to eradicating it. So we have to start somewhere. The problem we have today didn't start one day.
No.
So it's not going to go in one day.
Yeah.
So we have to be deliberate and be intentional and work. The strategy has to be a continuous work to be able to get there. So in Kenya, Nigeria, we're quick to make example. Oh, there's plastic ban in Kenya, there's plastic ban in Rwanda. But today, I can tell you that in Kenya, the process for banning single-use plastic started in 2008, but the implementation did not begin until 2017. That's 9 years process. So it's not going to be overnight. Yeah. But in Nigeria, we're quick to have an overnight success.
Or to expect overnight success.
And we expect overnight result. No, it's not going to happen. So we must be systematic and carry every stakeholders along. And then we must enforce. And another thing I want to say, Nigeria has a regulation called EPR, Extended Producer's Responsibility. That's the manufacturers of this packaging material called plastic. It has to be mandatory. There has to be enforcement. They must take responsibility for the life cycle of their product. Yeah. Some of them have, but because the enforcement of that law or that legislation is not tight. It's not tight. For example, there is PRO organization where these manufacturers come together and put funds to support collection, recovery, and recycling. Yeah. But how many companies do we have there? They're very meg compared to the manufacturers. We have over 1,000 manufacturers. They are less than 100 who are taking responsibility. And so what's the enforcement doing?
But wait, that's not a me issue. It's a government issue.
That's what I said.
Because at the end of the day, when you look at it's a threat. It's affecting us however we want to. We have issues with waste collection. We have issue with that waste collection is annoying. But we have issues with enforcement of regulations, single-use plastics everywhere. We know what Lagos wants to do from July 1st. Yeah. I've been shopping. I've forgotten my carry-on bag inside the car. I rolled the cart with everything. and that's because now stores are saying that's what Lagos State is doing. Yeah. And we know it's not only Lagos. I believe Edo State and a number of other states. And we rolled the number of countries around the world that have some level of enforcement on single-use plastics. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if we're going to do a ban, and I also want you to speak to the state of the nationwide ban, because I know there was talk last year of a nationwide ban on single-use plastic as well. So if we have these bans, it's government to do enforcement and compliance. Because sometimes as government, you even have to take people where they don't want to go, where they don't even know they need to go.
Yeah.
So how do we do that?
Okay, I agree with you.
Because we're very stubborn, no? Nigerians are stubborn.
No, I agree with you about enforcement. The buck stops on the table of government.
Yes.
But you see, there is what we call indirect enforcement that we can do.
Okay.
And like what you said now, because Lagos State government has placed the responsibility on some stores, and they're going to be fined. And then we as individuals, as consumers, going to those stores now, we're carrying our
Bags.
reusable bags,
Yeah.
cloth bags. So we are beginning to have impact in the enforcement as well. So if 10 people normally uses carrier bags and 4 are beginning to use reusable bags, so you have reduced 40%. That's why I say it's a gradual process. It's everybody's responsibility. But government needs to go after the offenders, and also government needs to enforce its own policy on the manufacturers to begin to understand that, look, if you're not doing this, this is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to get fined or something. And also, government needs to begin to incentivize the manufacturers who are willing to use alternative packaging materials. Who are willing. So
some whatever it is,
exactly.
something.
So things like that, we change the system. It's not going to happen overnight, but we have to start, and we must be deliberate and intentional. And everybody has to be the eagle eye, watching, and see something, say something.
I want you people should give me like koboko or something. So when I'm driving, somebody throws something out the window, I can go and make me a citizen reporter or something. I don't know.
And I feel like it's easier to say because everybody has their own problems. I'll be driving to work and then I'm thinking of something else, and someone is throwing plastic. I'm like, "Shit, don't let it hit my car." We don't really. We don't see it as our business because there's the parts of not being educated enough, so people don't think that it has any repercussion on them personally. So it brings me back to probably incentivizing it, because that's the only time individuals would take it so seriously.
See, let me tell you something. There are a lot of Nigerians, Lagosians, who are incentivized with recycling, especially plastic, aluminum cans, and all the e-waste. There's a lot of, the stream of which is long, but let's not go into that today. But what I'm saying in essence is that there are people who are making daily living, like myself, from recycling, from plastic recycling. So why are we not using those people to campaign for others to begin to believe in separating their waste? And from what you said, it's everybody's problem. I saw a video recently in Lagos, and that guy has been apprehended. A young man who took his waste that is generated and went on a bridge and dumped it. It was this Nigerian who took
his video,
and sent it to the authority. And a good Nigerian that took that video captured the plate number of the car, and that was used. That's good citizenship. That's where I'm going. We need to become citizens.
Stewards.
Yes, the government has a role to play. We as citizens has mega role to play, because when the problem comes, it's not only on government.
It's everybody.
The people in government even get little of the problem. They don't even get the
Let me
impact.
butt in quickly here. And when we are talking about implementation of these rules, we also need to talk about alternatives.
Yes.
We've spoken about not giving nylons, but we know that these stores still sell it if you ask for it. I mean, in advanced countries, we see options like paper bags. That's not here yet.
Yes.
But is the government making effort to make sure that these brands, these outlets have paper bags? But before you answer that, let me also speak about this. Runners, I have friends that run Fit Farm. And if you run from Ikoyi Bridge to Bodilon and you're holding a plastic, there is no place to drop it. So you have to wait till you get there. Runners drink water. So if I buy 2-3 water and I'm drinking as I go,
You can hold on.
you might have, the tendency to want to drop it across the bridge or something. Are we building stalls? Like if I walk 10 miles, I have to see where I can drop a plastic
or a recycle bin every 2 kilometers.
We don't have all of this, because
be.
we can talk about implementation of these laws, but what effective approach do we have on ground?
Okay, I'll start from where you just ended.
Paper bags.
What we have, the approach.
Runners.
What we have on ground in Lagos is not the best yet, but there is at every bus stop there is supposed to be a bin or plastic collection. At least I can give an example. When you go under the bus stop of Ojuelegba now, there is this plastic collection that is presently there. So we just need to scale that up. Like every kilometer, every 2 kilometers, every 5 kilometers, there is a drop
because
off
you make
center
it easier for people to do the right thing.
Yes. Exactly. That's on that. But on the second question that you asked, yes, the government is, because I've been at the forum with the Pure Water Manufacturers Association of Nigeria when the ban was first announced last year. There was this outcry, which I share the sentiment as well. And the government has said at both state and national level, we are going to ban the single-use plastic that already have alternatives. And the examples are plastic spoon, plastic straws, nylon bags. Those ones already have existing alternatives.
Yes.
But for the pure water sachet, there's a time frame.
A phase out.
Yeah, a phase out. Rather than, a phase down, then to phase out. So there is that time. So it gives the manufacturers time to begin to change their systems, change their packaging materials, and I believe, and that's what I said earlier on, government needs to begin to incentivize such manufecturers who are willing to go the eco.
But I still have a little bit of problem with that because we cannot, economically, people drinking 20 naira water now have to go to 200. That's times 10.
Yeah. So that's what the incentive government has to give. It's not just about allowing them. There has to be tax waiver. There has to be duty. So it doesn't take the price up.
So, but
and also we need to look inward because there are young Nigerians who are very innovative. There's a young Nigerian in this Lagos who uses plastic waste to make buttons.
Nice.
Rather than using virgin materials. There are a lot of innovative. The pure water sachet you're talking about, somebody weaves it to make clothing, school bags, handbags.
I've seen the school bags.
Yeah. So there's so much that can be done. So we need to look inward and look at innovative ideas that we can, that the government needs to support such innovation as well, giving them green loans, green grants, that we, not that the young ones, because the innovative people are just there hustling and it takes time. So the government has a role to play in that part as well, supporting them with the green grants and as well. Also, government needs to be the first person that we do what we call circular procurement. So your procurement needs to go around these materials that are being
You have to lead by example.
Yeah, you have to lead by your procurement. Okay, like in an example now, why is government buying brand new computers if they are refurbished computers? You understand? So that takes those computers away from the dump. It takes it away. So we create a refurbished hub where that is refurbished or repaired. And the government is saying, no, we want to buy 100 refurbished computers.
And then you also incentivize companies
who are doing
also
it.
plug into that as well.
So it has to be a circular model, and everybody has to be on board. Also, like I said, we must be deliberate and intentional. We can't do one-off. We can't say, oh, somebody is just doing it. For example, the lady who is doing the pure water recycling has a factory in Ibadan now. But one is not good enough for Nigeria.
It's not enough.
There's niche support to have it across the regions. Thank you.
It's an interesting conversation.
I think we will have this conversation again.
Yes.
Jasmine doesn't do one time.
I was just about to say,
We're good at follow-up.
Yes, we're good at follow-up. We have to, because there's so many questions. I'm not, the first thing, as usual, I say is, listen, what's different now that wasn't done before? But then again...
Oh, there's a law. I can tell you a law that's different now that wasn't done before.
Yeah, I can believe you, but when we come up for here, that's the... But it's a conversation for another day.
Behind the scenes.
I need to thank our guests, Olumide Ito, climate activist, Mr. Climate, as Lois called him, and co-founder of the International Climate Change Development Initiative, and of course, Dr. Femi Ido-Adegoke. He's the co-founder, Ecoveredis Environmental Technology, for joining us today. So from flooded streets to plastic-choked drainages, today reminded us that Nigeria's environmental crisis is not distant. It's at our doorstep. And just like the shocking story from Anambra, where that teenage apprentice reportedly impregnated 10 girls, it all points to one thing: Guys, neglect of our systems, our values, our responsibilities. So here on this table, we believe change starts with conversation, bold, honest, and fearless. Until tomorrow, that's all for today.
How do you know this?